All right. Morning, morning. Welcome to Business Fundamentals Thursday, I think it is this morning. So, we are talking about what sort of advice would you give to a startup? So, we're talking to ourselves. No, we're not talking to ourselves. Well, we are talking to ourselves, but we'll talk to you as well. So let's find out what kind of good advice people have got. So let's start with Trevor this morning, seeing that he's unmuted. Morning, Rob.
All right, so I have one word of advice for anyone thinking of getting into business. Don't. Right, so that's the perfect starting point, right? Because I think we have to take note of current timing. And I've then got to put a little rider to that simple one word, don't, that I think this is the finest time in the history of the world to get into business. I mean, it's absolutely, this is the best time to actually be living. We've never had it so good with access to information, resources, just examples of people who are doing extremely well, technologies that I don't understand, that blooming phone that rings all the time that hasn't got a cord that connects it to the wall. I don't understand how these people work with all these technologies, but there are amazing things happening. So why do I say don't? Because I think what is happening currently today is there are a couple of different reasons why people are getting into business. They're probably no different to why people have got into business in the past, but it's more marked today. And that is COVID has actually almost wiped out any stability within organizations. It's really the lucky few that seem to have consistency of employment. So there are many people that are concerned about where the future of work is going. Is it work from home? Is it within a corporate environment? Is it from an entrepreneurial base? So there are going to be a lot more people thinking of getting into business because they have to, not because they want to. And we've got to be very concerned about those. And so I rewind myself over about 50 years because I've always been primarily entrepreneurial. And I think there are different stages in life. If you are young, let's say, I mean, entrepreneurs now start from 12 years old, young entrepreneurs, you're an old blooming fart at 21 in today's technology age. So let's take those between sort of 12 to 24, just so that Thabisa can be part of the old farts brigade at 26. And let's consider that you're thinking of getting into business. What's exciting about that? Well, if you are lucky enough still to be at home or you've got a room at home, you can take 100% of whatever you've got, whatever savings you've built up, whatever money you've made, whatever you've managed to ripple from the old man or the old lady, and you can pump it into whatever concept you want, because you can lose it all and still go back home and have a roof over your head. But if you are starting to develop a young family and you have responsibilities and you've got bonds and you're paying off for cars and you're accountable to someone else, you've got to start considering, gee, how much can I afford to risk on the chance of my business failing? And what are the chances of business failing? Extremely high. There seem to be, there are all manners of stats and quotes going out there. Anything from 70 to 90% of businesses don't last past their first 3 to 5 years. And I believe less than 1 in 10 last 10 years. And that's some of the indications that I've had of people in business that we've been working with. So one of the biggest dangers today very much for me are those in the 40 to 60 age group. And here I'm in 67 and we're still doing business, for goodness sake. And some of us are not intending to retire here for the next 30 to 40 years, God willing. And so please, if a few of you have got direct contact and connections, just put in a few good words for us, because we like this roller coaster of life and business that we're all about. But if you're in the 40 to 60 year age group and you've had this problem of either being retrenched or you've been forced out, and you've got all of these liabilities, man, this is when you've got to be the most careful. And you've got to be thinking through the reasons why you want to get into business. So the advice that I give you is there are plenty of people around and plenty of information. And obviously the best people that you can get onto are those that get onto these Wisdom's Chats forums, because they actually share with you what it is that you can actually do. But please be extremely conservative, while we all know we need to be way more adventurous than anyone else out there. Test your concepts. Don't go out there borrowing money on your concept or hocking your house and home on that concept. See if someone is actually going to pay you their hard-earned money first on some of your ideas, and use the internet to get global reach in your test. Don't just test with a couple of people that are your close acquaintances, because they all lie. They'll all turn around to you and say, oh, you know what, Trevor, it's the greatest idea since blooming, Pa fell off the bus. Don't, peanut butter on fresh sliced bread, it absolutely works. And then you go and try and sell this out there, and you find that everyone is selling peanut butter and bread, and no one wants to buy your stuff. So please test your concepts with the lowest expenditure and risk that you can possibly do. And Google and the internet and social media is absolutely designed to do that. But none of us do it right. So that's just, I'm giving us a little whip, all of us, on this, because we're all using this technology. And I don't believe we do it as well as we possibly can. There are some that do it extremely well. I'm not going to tell you where they are. You can come to us on a business mastery, and we'll start pointing out who the best of the best are, and what it is we should be doing and what we should follow. So I'm not going to give that all away. Those are my little secrets that I'm going to keep under wraps here.
Okay, good. Thanks, Trevor. Yeah, we are talking business fundamentals, not business mastery today. So yeah, you're entitled to keep one or two secrets, but we might wheedle them out of you as we go along. So, Jesper, what are your choice words of advice for those who are wanting to start a business today?
I think Trevor did a good job there, and I concur with everything he said. I'll just probably package it a bit. And I would normally, if someone asked me what's my advice on going into business, I would guide the conversation to say, why? Why do you want to go in business? And we find that often it's almost economic circumstances. I've lost my job, or I'm getting retrenched. So his reason for going into business is survival, and what he actually needs is another job. But he's now trying to form, to force a business into the job perks that he used to have. And then that's slim chances for survival. So the why becomes important. And then I would somehow work in the word who. Who do you want to go in business with? Because it's unlikely that any one person has all the skills to make that business survive. And your choice of partners are very important. So just saying, all right, I've got a funder behind me is no guarantee for success, because that funder is normally a sleeping partner, and he's buying your story that you're going to make him rich. And you often underestimate what it really costs and it really takes to bring the thing in. So the mix of the team and the skills are important. And then how? Let the guys, think of the how. How will this business work? And you take him through all the steps of business. So that from the startup idea to the packaging, to the selling, to the administration and the money collection and all the things. Because very few people actually understand the total sales process. But then comes the when. And with the when is also, so in what sequence and steps do you want to do it? And then bring it to that point that Trevor mentioned, be cash flow positive from day one. What can you already do with what you have before you start taking huge risks to test your idea? And what is that first stage of a minimum viable product? So the big thing is to use resources extremely wisely, and the resources includes skills of people, but then also we have massive access now to technology. And I'm fortunate, guys like Ivan and then Gavin are people who know what resources are available, most of them free, that gives you enough starting point to test your ideas without having to spend money, and then later on you can spend money. And I'm thinking of just the term just came up in my mind: circles within circles. And what I mean by circles within circles, you are as good as the networks that you are part of. So who are you surrounding yourselves with? Because I've used my last 67 years, well, no, I'm not 67, that's old. My last 66 years to build networks and people around me that I can add value to, and they can add value to me. But I'm part of more than one circle of networks. And each of those people have built their 40, 50, 60 years to build their networks. So the older you get, and once you understand this concept, it starts making life simple. I don't have to Google stuff. I pick up a phone and I phone one person. If he doesn't know it, he can lead me to the next person. But so what I'm saying, your strength is the circles within circles. So community chambers is one. Wisdoms is another one. Gig is another one. So don't be, and these circles for you then overlap where you're part of more than one circle, but you immediately have the access to the resources within all those circles, and make sure that you add value back to those circles in terms of trust and friendships and referrals and whatever it takes. And then, through LinkedIn and stuff like that, I'm still learning how to use LinkedIn. Currently, I'm just building my database. But the last one is to understand and mitigate risk. So real entrepreneurs make sure they understand all the risk right throughout the steps and mitigate it as far as they can. And they part of that, the clever entrepreneurs normally pass the risk on to other unsuspecting people who end up carrying the can if they're not wise. But the point is, a good entrepreneur understands the risk and you mitigate the risk, and then off you go and be successful.
Great, thanks, Jesper. Some great advice there, but I'm a little bit worried about why we keep on going round in circles, going round in circles and circles. So, but so Lee, can you take us off at a tangent, or are you going to stay stuck in the circle?
Yeah, so thanks. I mean, Trevor and Jesper, this is why we have this Wisdoms Chat and why we're having Business Fundamentals, because you've got years of experience of people who have built businesses, different businesses over different periods of time. So really amazing. So thank you so much for that words of wisdom. In terms of, I thought to start with just reading some comments from a LinkedIn post. So the person who posted it asked the question, I would love to hear your thoughts. What was the most difficult part about starting a business for you? So I thought, well, that's a good way to think about what advice would you give. So what was the most difficult part about starting a business for you? So the one was, mine was an easy, so Peter Howard says, mine was an easy transition. I found myself with no job, no money, and no car. Frankly, I had nothing to lose by giving it a go. So in hindsight, it was probably the best thing, as it was not even a decision I had to make. So when you actually, and that's what Trevor was saying, if you've got nothing to lose, go for it. So that's brilliant. For me, it was not having the budget to buy all the help I want to set up my business. For example, I would love to employ people to do my marketing, business strategy. I would love to have the budget to purchase all the expert support I need. Instead, I'm trying to do everything myself. It's a steep learning curve. And I think that also is echoed by this person who says, it's all the different hats of a small business owner, finance, marketing. It's a matter of knowing what to outsource and when. And so I think that's a key thing that we have to bear in mind, is especially people, and this is also echoed by somebody else who said they'd stepped out of a corporate environment. And in a corporate environment, you are a specialist. You have the corner of what you do, your area of expertise, and you are a cog in the wheel. And you've got a finance department and a marketing department, and you've got administrative support and so on. You can, if your laptop goes down, you phone IT. So when you're running your own enterprise, you're it. So you have to figure things out very quickly. What it is that you can do, what it is that you can't do. So I think that is definitely something that you have to figure out. I think for me, I did outsource two things that I knew I could not do from the get-go. The one was my accounts, and the other was my IT, that I needed some kind of provider that I could call. And even if he said, Lee, have you rebooted? I at least had that kind of expertise. But the thing that I want to emphasize the most in terms of starting a business, we can use fancy terms like cash flow positive and MVP and risk mitigation and all the rest of it. The only thing that is going to get your business, and whether you can call it a business or you can simply replace your salary, you don't have to call yourself an entrepreneur. You don't have to call yourself starting a business. If you're in a situation where you have been retrenched, or you do need to find another source of income, just replace your income. Just work towards replacing. In other words, you now become self-employed. Employ yourself. That's a good start. And to do that, you have to sell. You have to sell. It doesn't matter how brilliant your expertise is. It doesn't matter how excellent your track record is. Doesn't matter what business you came from. No one is looking for you. No one. You have to go out. You have to find your customers. You have to sell yourself. And if you don't know how, you can learn. I was the least likely person to sell. Nobody who knew me in my prior life would ever have thought, oh, Lee's a good salesperson. But I learned it. It became a skill. And so it is something you can do. And then the last thing I want to say is, and just picking up a little bit on what Trevor and Jasper were saying, is you don't have to look outside of yourself for some magic that is going to make your business successful. In Wisdoms, we talk about what's at your fingertips. What's around you? What resources do you have? Don't look for what you don't have. Look for what you do have. That's how Wisdom started. It was a case of I was running my own training and development business. I needed IP that I could get hold of quickly, that I could deliver back to my customers that were tired of my previous material, and I needed something fresh and I needed something quickly, and came to Trevor, who was Jasper, part of my network, and he said, I've got something on my shelves. we developed it, we tested it. It's now sort of sitting on the shelf. Nobody took it forward. Do you want to try it? I took it off the shelf, dusted it off, took it back to my clients in the corporate environment, and they loved it. And so it's not something that had to be reinvented. It was something that was there waiting. So that was just an example. What's at your fingertips? What do you have? Rather than trying to grasp at straws somewhere out there. So that's my take on starting a business.
Great. Thanks so much, Lee. Well done. Right. Rob, your thoughts. What did you tell a young entrepreneur or an old entrepreneur?
I said that this is quite a hard act to follow. You guys have done a wonderful job in covering the waterfront. The experience that we've had is based on a lot of people that have come to us and said to us, please, will you build me an app? And the conversation then goes, well, what do you want the app to do? And just to explore a little bit about where it's coming from. And then I think some of the points that have been made that I'll probably repeat is there a need for the app? So we acted as like business consultants to a lot of people that approached us, because if their business failed, then the money that they would pay us is very suspect for starters. So we want them to succeed. We want to be associated with their success. So we would go about asking questions that perhaps a lot of technical companies wouldn't ask, you know, like, do you want to go in the cloud, or do you want to whatever? And we also started to use the language of the customer. So it didn't scare them away because we threw technology at them. And that's kind of one of my pet logos is think customer, use their language. So one of the funny stories that came along was a guy in Pietermaritzburg. He was an Indian chappie. And he said, I would like you to build an app like Uber. So I said, well, how much money do you have? And learned that, as corny as it is, that very first question about how much money do you have is a good one, because it actually starts to separate. It helps. We know whether the person is living in a real world or not, based on what it's going to cost to do what he wants. But he had 50,000 Rand. So I said to him, I think that he's out by a couple of decimal places, and you would probably need something like 50 million Rand just to get the ball started. And it's extremely complex in terms of the number of people that you have to get permission from, the authorities in your country, et cetera, setting up the whole infrastructure to do what you need to do as well. It's a very money-intensive business to get that going. So once a person's determined that what they have is unique, once they have determined that the needs are there in the market, then unfortunately, I think it's the hard graft. And I have shared a sort of a schematic of a business plan with a lot of people to say, most people don't have the kind of money that they need. So what you need is, you need two things. You need a business plan, and you need something that you can take to a potential sponsor to provide a show and tell. So you can actually drive them through a mock-up demo, 6-10 slides as to what it is you're actually proposing that needs to the money to actually develop. We entered into some partnerships with people. We're a tech company, so we decided that we weren't going to do the marketing and the sales, et cetera. So a company approached us with a wonderful idea, and we built an application over a period of 8 months. And our job was to build the application, and their job was to actually do the marketing. So we learned some lessons there, because at the end of it, it cost us 5 million in lost opportunity. about 3 million in actual costs. We built this system called Supergrid. It went out and we actually did a pilot with the Vodacom, with the Bulls, where it gridded their field and people could buy a piece of the field virtually. So very applicable today in COVID, because a lot of people can't go to the game. And there are a lot of very, very loyal Bulls supporters, and they want to feel that they're part of it all, and they are prepared to buy a virtual piece of the ground. And then there were all kinds of things we could do on the top of it. So the idea to me was outstanding because it applied to a number of sports, locally, internationally, whatever. However, they didn't do their job. They didn't do the marketing. They didn't come up with the money to do the marketing and stuff like that. So our efforts were sad story, but it was a very good learning experience for us. We haven't mentioned the word passion, but to somebody to start a business, how much time do you have to actually do the business? And a lot of people are time sharing. So they've got something that's bringing in the money, and they're thinking that they can actually start this new business alone. And those people will incline to walk away from, because it's a full-time thing. It's not something you're going to be able to do over the weekends properly. And it shows that there's a lack of determination, a lack of passion in terms of what they want to do. And people that are prepared to say, I've got 3 months, I can live off 3 months, I'd like to get this started, can you help? It's far more appealing to us than somebody who says, I'd like to earn a little bit of extra money through this idea I have. So there's a lot of people that we chased away, but for the right reasons, I think, because they understood how difficult it was. So we weren't kind of putting them off. We just told them what needed to be done. And if they didn't want to do it, then they were probably not going to be successful in their business. And then there were a few that still came and stuck with us. So it was whatever it was. So there's a lot of naivety, a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of, it's easy to actually do. It's not. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of thinking, and as the previous chatters have said, it's a number of skills. We've seen the lady who does the cookies couldn't run a business, couldn't sustain a business because she still wanted to be in the kitchen making the cookies. And there was a lot more to it than that. And there's many, many stories like that. So yeah, it's tough. It shouldn't put people off. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, from a different perspective, definitely. So, Tabiso, tell all these old farts that they're wrong.
Okay, I think that my advice, is about my advice first, It is about what I learned and what I'm learning, as I go through everything, And Ivan once said that no handshake, no business, I thought that was such great.
If everyone can just maybe turn their videos off, it might help Tabiso a little bit.
Yes. Okay. Ivan once said that no handshake, no business. That was like the best advice ever, So I'm going to claim it, and present it as my first point, That's mine. So sorry, Ivan, that's my first point, Second, I think that don't work with, under, or for someone that you don't admire or don't respect, don't settle, because under those circumstances, you won't be able to do your best, and if you don't respect someone, probably, their leadership qualities are a bit suspect. So I think that you have to work best, that you can get, If your partner lies to you just once, it will happen again and again, And the worst part is that they don't actually respect you enough to actually think that you aren't the truth, So no, you have to know your partners, who you're working with, because if you don't, things might go astray and they might make deals that spell out your demise, you know. So I think that you should know who you're working for and admire, respect the person that you are working with, you know. Third is to prioritize working with people. No, I think the third advice is that you must prioritize helping people rather, you know. And then when you have that, perfect the model, you know, make helping people your first thing, you know, your goal of your business. And when you have perfected the model, you can actually concentrate on actually scaling and helping more people, you know, find a way to help a lot of people as opposed to making a lot of money, you know, to help.
I'm afraid it looks like we've lost him in mid-flow again there, unfortunately.
We
Okay,
just spelled out his
am I
demise.
still there? Sorry.
Yeah, you've just come back. We lost you
today.
there for a short while.
Okay, yes. Maybe I
Maybe-
should also turn off my video.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Yeah.
Okay. To help people is to understand, you know, it is not detached from reality. Really, you want to help and you have to care enough, you know, to understand your customers. And I think that the fourth thing is that you have to love what you do, you know. As an entrepreneur, you're going to hellish days, you know, just the worst days ever that will make you want to quit, you know. And loving what you do will actually prevent you from actually quitting, you know. In fact, you will see it as a challenge, you know, opportunity to challenge yourself, you know. So you have to love what you do because it will inspire a lot of things out of you. It will inspire innovation, it will inspire leadership, and it will inspire a lot of great things. And if you love what you do, then your company is destined for greatness, you know. I think fifth thing, you know, you have to concentrate on your enterprise instead of the competition, you know. Just focus on growth and retaining your current customers. Put one foot in front of the other and strive to be better than the previous day, you know. So you should aspire to build from within. Compare yourself with who you were the previous day as opposed to comparing yourself with other people, you know, because you can't really control things from outside of you, you know. And I think that lucky number 6, that you must just elevate your perspective, you know, just try to see your business way into the future. Think 10 years, even 100 years, you know. You should always try to elevate your perspective, see things, you know, because a lot of businesses don't get through the first 5 years, you know, but when you have an elevated perspective, you can actually forecast and actually plan, you know what to expect, what not to do. Things are just my 6 lucky nuggets for today. So thank you, Ivan.
Thanks so much, Thabiso. Good nuggets those. So, right, I think, you know, the sages have spoken. I'm left to try and wrap this up a little bit here. So I'm going to try and bring it back to something very, very simple. So first piece of advice I would give anybody is don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to say that you don't know, because people will help you. If you go in there and try and use the BS baffles brains approach, you will be found out extremely quickly, and you will lose credibility. So that would be my very first piece. And tagged onto that first piece of advice, when you do ask those questions, really listen to those answers and remember those answers, because you keep on asking the same questions, you're going to wind up in the same position. So ask the right questions, learn from the answers that you get, and apply them. And then I think from there, don't underestimate the importance of putting some simple systems and processes in place. They don't need to be complex, they don't need to be over the top, but they do need to be there. They can simply be on a spreadsheet or even a piece of paper, but put them in place. And so know what your objectives are, know what your targets are, know what your measurables are, and know why you are measuring those things. Because the measurements you take determine the results that you get. So if you're taking the wrong measurements, you're going to get the wrong results. And from there, there's just one word: commit. Whether you're doing it full-time or part-time, Rob, I'm afraid I disagree with you there. I think you can get a business going part-time, but you must treat it like a full-time business. You must commit. Because if you don't, it's not a business, it's a hobby. So that's all I can add to what everybody said. So thanks very much, everybody. Great discussion. I think some great insights, some great pointers, and hopefully somebody listens to us. Maybe we should listen to ourselves. Maybe we should listen to ourselves from time to time.
But I do want to say, if there's a way, because Rob asked, is there a way that he can get hold of previous Wisdom's Chats, and everything is recorded on Wisdom's Chats and put on our YouTube channel. But I would love to put a gold ring or something around this Wisdom's Chat to say, listen to this. This is absolute brilliance. Everybody from their different perspective, really, really pure gold. So thank you for that. I've been so enraptured listening to everybody that I have not thought about a topic for tomorrow. So if there is something that somebody has in mind that you would like to talk about, is there something that struck you? Yay, Trevor, please go for it.
Yeah, Rob has stimulated my thinking through his eyes of a fast start. I think technology and current times and current need is all converging into people turning around and saying, hey, how do I get a fast start into business? How do I get things to happen quickly? Because we're in this instant coffee society sort of scenario. So I'd love to explore this thing of a fast start in business that comes out of this. Rob might have some insights for us to kickstart that one.
Excellent. Good. All right. So let's get off to a fast start tomorrow morning and see where that can take us. Yeah.
Sorry, false start. I didn't quite get that. What's the topic tomorrow?
Fast start.
Fast start. Thank you.
Yeah. So we're talking about you saying tomorrow. So bolt off and go and work out what a fast start is all about. Have a good one, folks, and we'll see you tomorrow. Cheers now.
Bye, everyone.